Okay, I don't know what's going on right now, but there's a lot of good records coming out. I don't want you guys to just think, oh, I love everything. No, there's just like a trend right now that actually a lot of good albums are coming out, and this Death from Above record is another one. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of the third studio album by the dance punk, alternative rock, and hard rock album now by Death from Above. No longer Death from Above 1979. There's no longer legal ramifications if they do use that name. There was a whole ordeal back in the day with them versus James Murphy of LCD Soundsystem, a band that I just reviewed. Basically, he had Death from Above Records, and they had to add on 1979 to the end of their name, and now they've learned that they can get away with doing Death from Above, their original name once again. So this new album, as Death from Above, is called Outrage Is Now. And I'm very excited about this album because I kind of turned around on how I felt about the singles within the context of this record. Obviously, the lead-off track we got was Freeze Me, and then we got Never Swim Alone. And the moment I heard those songs, I wasn't exactly keen on them. They seemed a bit more abrasive, and not that they haven't been known for being kind of a noise punk duo in the past, and they've definitely done so by stirring the waters with just kind of these noisy synthesizers, loud guitar, and of course it's just a bass guitar doing all of this. As they are a duo, they just have a bass doing all of these sounds, which is kind of think like Royal Blood, except maybe on a more explosive level, because they're able to really bring in synthesizers, pounding drums, and obviously the guitar as well to create a very, very visceral and unique sound. But this time around, as I said, they went for more of a hard rock approach, and I think I'm really starting to appreciate that because there's influences, yes, of their older styles of dance and punk, but there's also some moments that just seem more straight up alternative, and honestly some hard rock and metal influences are protruding all throughout, and I think that that's definitely a step in a good direction for them to keep things from getting stale, but at the same time it doesn't feel like an identity crisis. It doesn't feel like Death from Above just ditching the 1979 and then running in a new direction. This just seems like them building on what they've laid down in the past. I got into this band on their last record, The Physical World, and I absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite records of the year in 2014, and I was really hoping that it just wouldn't be a one-off because there was a brief time period for a few years where they were broken up technically, and I went back, loved their debut album as well, You're a Woman, I'm a Machine. I thought that that was absolutely fantastic, and I saw why people were clamoring for more, and it took a decade for a new album to be made, but finally Jesse and Sebastian came back together, this Canadian duo, and finally started making more music. And they went out on tour, and then they toured more, realized that they loved doing it once again, and here we are at their third studio album. And overall, they made a very compact, yes, because it's 36 minutes, but at the same time, very hard-hitting and gripping record that I'm definitely loving. Let's go ahead and talk about the singles, though, because that's kind of the elephant in the room. I had previously said, I can't remember if it was in a video or on Twitter, but I said that I didn't really care for Never Swim Alone, especially, and Freeze Me wasn't really striking me. Maybe I was distracted by the music video that went along with it. But Freeze Me comes across as kind of this hard-hitting tune with some loud riffs on it, and there's also some just kind of glam synths on there, kind of a little bit of those key effects that I'm really starting to dig. I don't know why I didn't like it at first, but it's a grower, and an album that might be a grower for some, but I feel like tracks like Freeze Me really just start to grab you and just drag you into that world. I love the chorus. He's really stretching his voice on this one, but it doesn't sound bad. It doesn't seem like he's out of his zone. I love it. He's nailing the notes, and the instrumental on this track is definitely moving as well. You just really want to dance with it, the thundering drums and everything just very captivating. Never Swims Alone builds off of these cycling riffs that steadily build and grow, and I like that. They're used for effect here, and obviously repetition is something that Death from Above are able to use to their advantage quite often on this very album, and on this track in particular, it really works. And even though the chorus might be one of my least favorite aspects of the song, I definitely still like it a lot more than I did on my initial listens, and I suggest at least giving it a couple more tries if you didn't like it the first time you heard it. It's one of those songs that seems like it has a bit of sarcasm packed within its lyrics, and there's definitely more to appreciate once you start to kind of peel it back and decipher what all's going on there. The album right off the bat just starts pounding away with Nomad, the opening track that's very, very enticing. I love the guitars on this thing, the long extended intro. Whenever the drums start pounding their way in on this one, it sounds fantastic. And I'm loving some of these hard-hitting moments, the ones that definitely feel a bit heavier in their tone throughout this album. I'm talking moments like Never Forever right near the end of the record, and even a Holy Books. Never Forever is one that seemingly takes kind of an almost metal influence, and I love the riff all throughout this song. It's very captivating, and just his approach on the mic on this track in particular. And then Holy Books seems to explore religion and his kind of lack of belief, and it's actually pretty interesting the way that this one plays out. I really enjoy the contrast between verse and chorus on Holy Books in particular. It's something that seems maybe a little bit more shiny during those verses, and then a kind of not drab chorus, but something that slows the pacing a bit. It almost takes you back to like the 90s and something that you would see there. It reminds me a little bit of Jane's Addiction, and I don't think that that's a bad influence to have whatsoever. And this track definitely plays out as a really, really solid closer. I even like it going out on the whole voicemail thing. They did that on Never Swim Alone, but it wasn't like an extended thing. I know I've complained in the past about everybody using the voicemail mechanism as like a tool to really just transition between songs, and it was too long, it was too lengthy, there was too much of it, it's being done too much. Here, it was just very simple. It was just kind of like almost a rapid fire little click, something that fired off, and it was the perfect way to really loop this album. It closes it out, and then you go right back into Nomad. It's one of those albums that can be cycled through, and it definitely doesn't feel old. The synthesized feel of the title track, Outrage Now, is fantastic. I love the dark, brooding edge that that song has. One of the best on this album, and that alongside Moonlight, that I'm not gonna lie, I was driving home to this song and the moon was out. I felt like a total bamf doing so, because I was like, I'm just flying down the highway, the moon's out, I'm listening to this hard, jagged riff that's just really reminding me of Death from Above's early stuff. This is badass, and the song is exactly that. It seems that Sebastian went through some traumatic experiences as he relays the lyrics here. He talks about a flood, and he also went through a period in his life where he was recovering. He was actually mobbed and like beaten up, I believe, and it's something where he kind of talks about like being kicked around, punched. He talks about rising waters. So there's a lot of intensity in this track, not only with the momentum of the instrumental, but also the weight that the lyrical content packs. It's definitely a hard punch to the gut, and I love it. This is a badass song, perhaps my favorite on the entire album. On the other hand, we do have a few songs that just aren't quite as interesting. They don't have that charm and allure and appeal that so many of the others do, like for example, Caught Up. That's one where I just find the riff to be very monotonous, and I know that I've talked about how the riffs do build off of like cycles and loops and that sort of thing, and they kind of evolve and transform as they go on. This is one that just kind of stays steady, and I don't really feel like the song benefits from that. And also another one, and one that I just see as being like almost like a pop punk styled intro. I almost feel like I'm about back in 2002 and I'm gonna listen to Newfound Glory or something. The track All I See Is You and Me. It's a very weird moment for Death from Above, because it does start off in that way, and I'm like ready to start moshing and like get on my baggy pants and like a chain attached. It's a weird thing for them. It seems like a sore thumb sticking out on this album, and it's not one for me. Statues, however, takes that repetitive riff formula and actually makes something out of it. It's really hard to explain because yes, it does at surface level seem like it's just kind of cycling and slow burning that riff all throughout the song, but the fact is that it actually grows into something much bigger. There's an evolution and transformation that we see with this song, and it's not trying to be the biggest thing in the world by any means, but still, it's a really solid deep cut on this record that I hope doesn't go totally overlooked. As a whole, I'm really enjoying Outrages Now. I'm very surprised because I wasn't that keen on the singles initially, but honestly, those are turning out to be some of my favorites on this very album. So I will say a moderately high replay factor for this. I definitely recommend the new album from Death from Above. It's called Outrages Now, and I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. Let me know your thoughts on the album in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like on this review while you're here. I hope you're enjoying seeing me cover some of these smaller bands. If you're able to support me on Patreon, help videos like this keep coming on a monthly basis, it's that annotation over there in the corner, or else the top link down below. My previous Death from Above review right here, another review right here, socials are in the description, and I'll see you very soon right here on ARTV.